The thick, acrid scent of burning metal hung in the air, mingling with the sharp tang of coolant leaking from ruptured pipes. Aiden Kane crouched in the shadows, his fingers gripping a makeshift blade fashioned from a discarded tool. The Dominion thought they had broken him. They thought that stripping humanity of its weapons, of its technology, would leave them weak. They didn't understand. Humans didn't just fight wars. They built them. He watched as the towering alien guards patrolled the perimeter of the labor camp, their bulky exosuits humming with energy. The Velrith, arrogant and complacent, believed their control over Vexor 5 was absolute. They had turned it into a warforge, forcing human engineers to construct the very machines designed to eradicate their own people. But they had made a critical mistake. They had imprisoned the minds that had built the weapons they so desperately needed. Aiden grinned to himself. That mistake was about to cost them everything. A low murmur of conversation reached him as a group of exhausted humans shuffled past, their jumpsuits stained with grime and sweat. Their eyes, once sharp and filled with defiance, now carried only the dull weight of survival. Aiden's jaw tightened. Not for long. A muffled groan echoed from a nearby workstation, where a fellow prisoner slumped against a pile of scrap metal. Jasper, a former shipwright from Earth's orbital defense program, clutched his side where a fresh bruise bloomed beneath his tattered clothing. "They're ramping up production," he muttered through clenched teeth. "Pushing us harder. Said they need 5 more warships operational by next cycle." Aiden's fingers curled into fists. 5 more warships meant 5 more death machines raining destruction on human colonies. He exhaled slowly, forcing his rage into something sharper, something useful. "Not happening," he said. Jasper gave a bitter chuckle. "Yeah? What's your plan? Punch our way out of here?" Aiden smirked. "No. We make them regret ever putting us in here." He slid a small device from his sleeve, a pulse jammer he had scavenged from a broken droid. It was barely functional, but it didn't need to be perfect. It just needed to buy them time. Jasper's eyes widened. "That's a death sentence if they catch you." "They won't," Aiden said. "Because by the time they realize what's happening, we'll already have control." A klaxon blared overhead as Dominion guards barked orders, their guttural language a mix of growls and hisses. Shift change. Aiden had timed it perfectly. He slipped through the winding corridors of the facility, keeping his movements precise, efficient. Every step brought him closer to the power core buried beneath the foundry. The facility was a testament to Dominion arrogance. Gleaming walls of obsidian steel, automated defense turrets lining every corridor. But they had built it on the assumption that human prisoners were too weak, too broken to fight back. That assumption was going to get them killed. Reaching a junction, Aiden pressed himself against the cold metal wall as a trio of guards stomped past, their heavy boots clanking against the grated floor. The moment they turned the corner, he moved. Fast. Silent. Jasper's voice crackled in his earpiece, an old communications link jury-rigged from Dominion scrap. "You've got 2 minutes before the security sweep hits your sector." Aiden sprinted down the corridor, his heart pounding, but his mind calm. He had done worse under worse conditions. He reached the access panel beside the core chamber's entrance, and yanked open the casing, revealing a tangle of glowing circuits. "This is going to be messy," he muttered, jamming the pulse jammer into the exposed wires. Sparks flew as the device shorted the security protocols, sending a cascade of error messages across the Dominion's network. The lights flickered, alarms blaring in confusion. Jasper cursed through the link. "What the hell did you do?" "They're scrambling." "Exactly what we needed." He pushed through the now unlocked door and entered the core chamber, a sprawling room pulsing with energy. The Dominion's power systems were robust, but not invulnerable. Aiden moved quickly, planting explosive charges along the primary conduits. Then, the worst thing possible happened. A voice, deep and laced with contempt, echoed through the chamber's speakers. "I was wondering when one of you would finally try something." Aiden froze. He knew that voice. Admiral Cuthrax. A hollow image flickered to life before him, displaying the looming, reptilian form of the Dominion's highest military strategist. His emerald eyes glowed with amusement. You humans never learn. You think rebellion will lead to freedom. But all it ever brings you is suffering. Aiden exhaled sharply. Funny. I was about to say the same thing to you. Kuthrax chuckled, a guttural sound that sent a chill through the air. We gave your kind a chance to be useful. And yet you still resist. A pity. Aiden's fingers hovered over the detonator. You built this place to break us. But you forgot one thing. Kuthrax raised a ridged brow. And what's that? Aiden grinned. We don't break. We adapt. He slammed his thumb down. The explosion was instantaneous. Fire and energy erupted from the conduits, cascading through the chamber in a chain reaction of destruction. Aiden was already moving, dodging debris as the Dominion's systems failed spectacularly. Kuthrax's image flickered, his smug expression replaced with fury. You insignificant. Static. Aiden didn't stop. He bolted through the collapsing corridors, his earpiece buzzing with Jasper's frantic voice. What the hell did you just do? Aiden skidded around a corner as Dominion alarms shrieked in protest. I bought us a war. He didn't stop running. Not until the sky above Vexor 5 burned with the fire of falling Dominion ships. The Dominion's facility was in chaos. Klaxons screamed, red emergency lights casting jagged shadows against the walls as guards scrambled to contain the outbreak of sabotage. Aiden Kane didn't stop running. Every second counted. Explosions rippled through the foundry, a chain reaction of destruction set in motion by his charges. The very machines that the Velrith had forced human engineers to construct were now turning against them. Dominion war mechs powered up, their targeting systems scrambled, recognizing their handlers as hostile. Jasper's voice crackled through the calm. They've locked down the exits. We're trapped unless you've got another one of your miracle plans. Aiden vaulted over a collapsed walkway, landing hard but keeping his momentum. I don't believe in miracles, Jasper. I believe in leverage. He slid into a maintenance tunnel, the heat from an overhead fire searing his back. The sound of gunfire echoed through the corridors as prisoners fought back with whatever weapons they had scavenged. Aiden reached into his utility belt, yanking out a stolen Dominion data spike. If he could reach the central command hub, he could override the lockdown, reroute their security grid, and open the blast doors. A shadow loomed ahead. A Dominion soldier, towering and clad in black battle armor, raised a plasma rifle. Aiden reacted instantly. He dropped low, grabbed a fallen pipe, and swung it into the alien's knee joint. The impact cracked the armor plating, staggering the soldier just long enough for Aiden to drive his knife under its chin. The Velrith let out a choking gurgle before collapsing. Jasper coughed over the comm. Tell me that explosion was part of your plan. Which one? Aiden grinned, wiping the blood from his blade. Because if you're talking about the core detonation, yeah, that was me. But if there's another one. A violent tremor rocked the entire facility. The ceiling groaned, metal struts buckling under the stress. Jasper swore. That one wasn't you. Aiden cursed under his breath. No. That was orbital fire. Admiral Kuthrax was retaliating. The Dominion fleet was firing on their own facility. Standard protocol. If they couldn't contain the rebellion, they would erase it. Jasper's voice held a sharp edge of panic. We need an evac. Now. Aiden's mind raced. The Dominion had warships docked in the upper levels. If they could take control of just one, they could get everyone off-world. But first, he needed to disable the planetary defenses. He burst into the command hub, a circular chamber lined with Dominion control consoles. Guards turned startled. Aiden moved before they could react, ducking behind a console and firing a stolen pulse pistol. The first shot took a guard in the throat. The second tore through the chest of another. The third, he didn't fire. Because the last Dominion officer was already dead, a throwing knife buried in his skull. Jasper stood in the doorway, breathing hard. You're not the only one who improvises. Aiden smirked, shoving the data spike into the control panel. He worked fast, fingers flying over the alien interface. The system fought back, scrambling to lock him out, but human engineers were trained for worse. Within moments, he had the blast doors overridden. A map flickered to life on the holodisplay, marking all active Dominion ships. There. Aiden pointed to a sleek, mid-sized cruiser docked in Bay 17. That's our way out. Jasper frowned. That's not a transport. That's a warship. Aiden grinned. Even better. Alarms shifted in pitch. Dominion reinforcements were closing in. They had minutes, maybe less. Aiden ripped the data spike free. We run. They sprinted through the facility, past shattered barricades and the bodies of fallen guards. The other prisoners had already begun their uprising, seizing weapons, storming armories, and cutting down their oppressors. Aiden ducked as a Dominion turret swiveled toward them. Jasper fired first, a precision shot that overloaded its circuits in a shower of sparks. Bay 17 loomed ahead. A massive force field protected the warship, and at least a dozen Dominion soldiers stood between them and escape. Aiden skidded to a stop, scanning the area. Jasper groaned. Tell me you've got a plan that isn't suicide. Aiden's gaze flickered to a cargo crane positioned overhead, its magnetic clamps still active. He grinned. I've got something better. He sprinted toward the crane's control station. Dominion fire erupted around him. Jasper laid down cover, returning fire with deadly efficiency. Aiden leapt into the operator's seat, flipping switches, rerouting power. The crane hummed to life, its massive arms swinging toward the warship. The Velra soldiers barely had time to react before several tons of steel crashed down on them, crushing them in an instant. The impact sent a shockwave through the bay, knocking loose a nearby fuel line. Fire erupted, an explosion tearing through the remaining Dominion forces. Jasper blinked. I take it back. That was brilliant. Aiden jumped down. Go, go, go! They sprinted up the warship's ramp, sealing the hatch behind them. The interior was pristine, untouched by battle. Dominion war technology at its finest. Aiden slid into the pilot's chair, fingers dancing over the unfamiliar controls. The ship rumbled to life, its engines surging with raw power. Jasper's voice was tight. Aiden, we've got company. A Dominion dreadnought was repositioning in orbit, its cannons locking onto them. Aiden smirked. Let's see how well they built this thing. He yanked the controls, the warship twisting free of its docking clamps. Alarms blared as the Dominion dreadnought fired. Aiden rolled the ship, the blast missing them by meters. Jasper was already at the weapons console. We don't have the firepower to take on a dreadnought. Not head-on, Aiden agreed. But we don't need to. He gunned the thrusters, weaving through the debris field of the collapsing facility. The Dominion dreadnought pursued, but Aiden was faster, more reckless. He pushed the ship to its limits, skimming so close to the station's wreckage that Dominion sensors lost their lock. Jasper's eyes widened. You're heading straight for the reactor core. Aiden grinned. Exactly. He dove toward the shattered remains of Vexor 5, twisting through the chaos of fire and debris. The dreadnought followed, its cannons heating for a kill shot. Aiden waited, every nerve taut. Then, at the last second, he veered up. The dreadnought, too large to maneuver in time, barreled straight into the ruptured core of the burning facility. The resulting explosion was cataclysmic. Fire and radiation consumed the Dominion's flagship, tearing it apart in a violent inferno. Jasper let out a breathless laugh. That was insane. Aiden leaned back, a satisfied smirk on his face. That was leverage. The stars stretched before them as they punched into hyperspace. The war wasn't over. But for the first time, humanity had the upper hand. The warship surged through hyperspace, its engines humming with raw power, but Aiden Kane didn't allow himself to relax. They had made it off Vexor 5, but that was only the beginning. The Dominion would regroup. They would retaliate. And they would come for him and every human mechanic who had dared to defy them. He wasn't about to give them the chance. He moved through the bridge, fingers gliding over the sleek Dominion controls, scanning the systems. The ship was a marvel of engineering, built for precision and power. Now it was his. Jasper's voice cut through the tension. I did a full system scan. Good news is, this beast is fast and lightly damaged. Bad news? We're broadcasting Dominion fleet signals. Every Velrith warship out there thinks we're one of them. Aiden's mind raced. That was both a problem and an opportunity. If they played it right, they could slip through enemy lines undetected. But the moment someone checked the ID logs and realized they weren't Dominion, every warship in the sector would converge on them. He pulled up the navigation feed, studying the galactic map. We need a safe port to regroup. Somewhere the Dominion won't look for us immediately. Jasper crossed his arms. You mean somewhere suicidal? Aiden smirked. Exactly. He tapped a location on the holo display. Delta 9 Outpost. Abandoned Dominion shipyard. Used to be a fleet testing facility before they pulled out years ago. If we can get there, we can scrub this ship's signature and reprogram its ID codes. Jasper frowned. And if it's not abandoned? Aiden's eyes gleamed. Then we take it. The ship lurched as they dropped out of hyperspace, the void of space giving way to the looming skeletal remains of the Delta 9 outpost. It hung in the darkness like a graveyard, massive docking arms stretched lifelessly against the black. But Aiden knew better than to assume it was empty. He gripped the ship's controls, scanning for activity. Jasper cursed under his breath. We've got movement. Small ships, scavengers maybe. Aiden exhaled. Or worse. A crackling transmission burst through their comms. A guttural voice, low and rasping. Unidentified vessel, this is Captain Thrask of the Red Scars. You've entered restricted salvage space. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. Jasper tensed. Pirates. Aiden's lips curled. Opportunists. He activated the external comms. Captain Thrask, we're just passing through. No cargo, no fight. Let us be on our way. There was a pause, then a cruel laugh. You stole that ship? We can smell it. Tell you what, you hand it over, and maybe we let you live. Jasper gritted his teeth. We can't take on a whole pirate fleet. Aiden's smirk didn't fade. We don't have to. He killed the comm feed and activated the ship's targeting array. How do you feel about a little deception? Jasper's eyes widened. You're not seriously. Aiden flicked a switch, transmitting the Dominion's emergency distress beacon. Immediately, the pirate comms lit up in panic. What the hell? You just signaled the Dominion! Thrask's voice snarled. Aiden leaned back. Now you have two choices, Captain. You can run and hide before the actual Dominion warships show up, or you can stick around and see how forgiving they are about stolen tech? Silence. Then, the pirate ships powered down their weapons and scattered into the darkness, engines roaring as they retreated. Jasper let out a low whistle. Remind me to never play cards with you. Aiden grinned. Always play with an ace up your sleeve. He guided the warship toward the outpost, engaging docking clamps as they settled into the station's derelict framework. The place was a maze of broken machinery and decaying corridors, but Aiden saw what he needed. The mainframe was still intact. They could rewrite the warship's ID, make it untraceable. Jasper got to work on the system, fingers flying over the alien console. This is old Dominion tech, but I can bypass it. Just need a few minutes. Aiden nodded, keeping his pulse pistol ready. He didn't trust an abandoned station to stay quiet for long. The walls groaned with the sound of shifting metal, and a faint clicking echoed through the chamber. Aiden tensed. That wasn't the station settling. That was movement. Before he could react, something lunged from the darkness. A figure clad in scavenged armor, wielding a serrated blade. Aiden dodged, twisting as the blade missed him by inches. He drove his elbow into the attacker's gut, forcing them back. More figures emerged from the shadows. Armed. Desperate. Jasper swore. Survivors. Aiden raised his pistol. That depends. Are they friendlies or just another problem? The leader of the group, a woman with sharp eyes and a scarred face, stepped forward. Depends on what you're doing with that Dominion warship. Aiden kept his aim steady. Fixing a mistake. She studied him, then lowered her weapon. We were left here when the Dominion pulled out. They didn't bother evacuating us. Just sealed the doors and left us to rot. Jasper muttered. Sounds about right. Aiden's mind was already working through possibilities. A crew. They needed one. And these people? They had survived on scraps and stolen tech. They knew how to fight. He holstered his weapon. You want off this rock? The woman narrowed her eyes. What's the catch? Aiden smirked. We're not just running. We're going to take the fight back to the Dominion. You in? A slow grin spread across her face. Hell yes. Jasper groaned. And just like that, we have an army. Aiden turned back to the control panel. The ID transfer was complete. The Dominion's stolen warship was now a ghost, untraceable. It was time to use it. He tapped the ship's console, setting a new course. They weren't just escaping anymore. They were going to make sure the Dominion paid for every crime, every prison, every life they had destroyed. And this was just the beginning. Aiden stood at the warship's bridge, eyes locked on the void of space as the station's battered crew settled into their new reality. They had been left for dead, abandoned by the Dominion, surviving on scraps and ingenuity. Now they had a purpose. Now they had a warship. And now they had him. The ID transfer was complete. The ship was invisible to Dominion systems, a ghost moving through the stars. But that wouldn't last. Someone would notice Vector 5 had fallen. Someone would track the last ship that escaped. Time was against them. Jasper leaned against the console, arms crossed. You really think this is gonna work? I mean, let's say we pull this off, get this ship reprogrammed, put a crew together. What's the next step? A grand speech about taking down the Dominion? Because I hate to break it to you, but we're one ship against an empire. Aiden's expression remained steady. Not for long. The Dominion's strength isn't in its fleets. It's in its grip on fear. We just shattered that grip on Vector 5. Word spreads. Colonies hear about a human warship hijacking Dominion systems, stealing their weapons, cutting them apart from the inside. Resistance breeds like wildfire. Jasper exhaled sharply. You're betting everything on a rumor? Aiden smirked. Not a rumor. A statement. He turned to the newly assembled crew, battle-hardened engineers, former laborers, mechanics who had spent years pulling Dominion tech apart. They weren't soldiers, but they were something better. They knew how things worked. They knew how to break them. The woman who had led the station's survivors, Kala, stepped forward, arms folded. You've got a plan. Let's hear it. Aiden moved to the holomap, bringing up the Dominion's logistical routes. Supply lines. Every empire is built on them, every fleet fueled by them. The Dominion's war effort is stretched thin. They've been bleeding ships since the first human resistance cells started fighting back. They'll be scrambling after Vector 5. That means they'll need reinforcements, resources, fuel. That means supply convoys. Kala frowned. You want to hit a convo? Aiden nodded. Not just hit it. Hijack it. Take what we need, leave nothing behind. They think they control the stars. We remind them that space belongs to everyone. Jasper let out a short laugh. You're insane. Aiden clapped him on the shoulder. That's what makes this fun. The warship surged forward, slicing through hyperspace toward its first real strike. The crew moved with purpose, checking systems, calibrating weapons. They weren't trained, but they were learning fast. Fear had been replaced with something else. A reason to fight. The Dominion convoy came into range, 4 cargo ships escorted by a single battleship. Standard procedure. They didn't expect trouble. The Dominion never expected trouble. Aiden took the helm. We drop in fast, jam their comms, cut off their escape. They panic, we board, we take what we need. Kala, you take a team to breach their primary hauler. Jasper, keep their escorts busy. Jasper sighed. I swear, if I die following one of your crazy ideas. Aiden grinned. You'll be too dead to say I told you so. The ship roared out of hyperspace, slamming into real space like a thunderclap. The Dominion fleet barely had time to react before Aiden hit them with an electromagnetic pulse, knocking out their long-range transmissions. They're blind, he called. Move! The warship fired thrusters, closing the gap, dodging the first wave of panic fire from the Dominion battleship. Kala's team launched grappling hooks, latching onto the lead cargo ship. Dominion crews scrambled inside, unprepared for a boarding assault. The humans moved fast, cutting through bulkheads, storming into the corridors with stolen Dominion rifles. Kala's voice crackled through comms. We've got control of the bridge. Crews locked down. This ship is ours. Aiden spun the warship just as the Dominion battleship finally recovered, its turrets locking on. Jasper cursed. They're powering up main cannons. Aiden didn't flinch. They won't fire. Jasper gaped at him. They have a clear shot. Aiden grinned. Exactly. They're still Dominion. They don't destroy their own cargo unless they have no choice. He opened a direct channel. Dominion vessel, this is Captain Kane of the warship you failed to keep. You fire, you lose your supplies. You stand down, you walk away. There was a pause. Then, the battleship's engines flared, turning away. The Dominion left its own cargo to be taken. Jasper let out a disbelieving laugh. I can't believe that worked. Aiden smirked. Dominion's strategy is predictable. They always assume they have time. They don't. The crew moved quickly, stripping the cargo ships of everything valuable, fuel, weapons, navigation logs. Then, Aiden activated the final phase. They left a message. The Dominion crews, bound and furious, watched as Aiden carved a single phrase into the ship's hull before setting them adrift. We are coming. The war had officially begun.